So we are going to go ahead and get started. And Brittany, will you just I'm going to unmute you really quick. But will you just go ahead and tell us like a super short version of your story? I know all of my girls probably already know you, but if you just want to keep it super short, so that we can go ahead and get more into tips and things like that, that would be awesome. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay? It's saying my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me okay, Court? Okay, perfect. If at any time you can't, just let me know. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Brittany Hayes. I am so excited to be sharing this time with you guys. So I have been in the business for about 2.5 years. I got started after following my enroller on social media for a while, for actually almost a year. And I just always wondered if I could do it too. I just always would see her posts. I read every single one of them, but never actually reached out until the night that I joined. So I always like to tell people that, to say you just never know who in your network is watching, and that's why consistency is so key. I literally read every opportunity post she did, you guys. But I finally jumped in and got started. 7 months in, I retired my husband, Zach. And then by 10 months in, we started earning 6 figures with this business. And then by our 1-year anniversary, we moved to the beach, and our life just really started to change from that point. We're able to do things with our kids we were never able to do. And then flash forward now, it's been about 2.5 years. We just went Ambassador Diamond last month. And it just continues to change our life just every single month. And we just wake up, every day just seriously so excited for who the people that God brings to our path that we're able to help with this business. And so I would just want to say before we continue going, no matter where you're at in this business, just know that persisting until the miracle happens is key. Because when you keep going, even when you feel under-equipped, God will always step in and make his power perfect in your weakness, and he'll always equip you every step of the way. I'm just a huge proponent that all God is looking for is for someone who will never quit. And if that's you, then you just don't even know where you're going to continue to go with the business.
Yeah, and something that you said is that 7 months in, you retired your husband. And, for a lot of people, like some of these girls might have been in for a year or, and they're not at the place that they want to be at. But I love that you said that, because even you, who I would consider to have gone super fast, you still have that in mind, and you still know that, you wouldn't even be where you are now and be further than you got to that quickly if you didn't persist. And so, just reminding you guys, if you're not where you want to be at yet, that's okay. Maybe, even when you retired your husband, you weren't at like the end game for you. And so you kept going. And so I love that you mentioned that, even though like a lot of these girls are probably like, you did what in 7 months? Which is so amazing, but you wanted more than that too. And so you went to go get that as well. And so I love that you mentioned that. So something that I mentioned to my girls when I announced this is that you are a 100% top DT enroller. Like, didn't you say somewhere that you enroll 20 to 40 DTs a month?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And my girls were like, wait, DTs? And I was like, yes, DTs, not customers. So will you just talk about, I'll just let you talk, because we kind of talked about what we want you to say on this anyway and kind of the topics. And so I'm just going to let you talk. And then if I have questions, I'll chime in and kind of ask those. But really just take the reins, and whatever you think we need to hear, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I love that you said that getting to that point, 7 months in, but not feeling like I had arrived, or, and not feeling like that was enough. I think that has always been key for me, and it ties so much into signing DTs as well. I firmly believe when we never get complacent and we always are looking ahead to what's next, that's when we can truly rise up to a new level. And that's when we can just continuously attract more and more people to us. You guys, we live in a culture that is lost and confused, and people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're looking for someone who knows where they're going. They're looking for someone who they can follow, someone who they know is never going to go anywhere, someone who's not going to be wishy-washy, but someone who's going to stay the course, and someone that they can grab their hand and run with. And the second that your audience realizes that's you, that's when their eyes lock onto you. And not everyone joins right away. I'm a big believer that there is a life cycle to every seed, and we never know what each seed's life cycle is. And so every time you make a post, there are people watching, and there's someone watching you that is literally going to sign the next 5 posts you do. There's someone that's going to sign the next 5 months if you stay consistent. There's someone that's going to sign after you go Ambassador Diamond. Like, you just don't know. I signed someone for my War Market, you guys, right after I went Ambassador, and they have literally watched me since I started. It took them watching me to go to the top of the company before they were ready to jump in. But then on the flip side, you know, I had people join when I was Ruby that were ready to go. So you just don't know. But that's why consistency is so key. So how I sign all my distributors is from telling my story on social media, whether it's telling my story in my nightly like business opportunity posts. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, when we get off of this Zoom, you can go look at the post that I just made. I literally made it like 30 minutes ago. I do a post similar to that every single night. And that consistency is just so huge. It can feel redundant. You can feel like you're saying the same thing over and over, but that's how I sign every single distributor. 99% of the distributors I sign text me the word that I put at the bottom of my post. So this will make more sense when you look at the one I made, that I basically just tell my story every single night and I give them a call to action at the end. Message or text opportunity too. And guys, like, that is just golden. So many people write these inspiring posts, but they don't give a call to action. And you have to give a call to action. If you don't give them a call to action, so many people are just scared, they're nervous, they don't know what to do. They're interested, they're excited, they're inspired, but they don't know what to say to you. But when you give them that one word, now they know what to say to you. You said message or text opportunity. They're going to text opportunity. So that's number one, is give them that clear call to action. Don't be afraid to put your phone number out there. I have people all the time that are like, oh, I'm just so scared to put my phone number. And I'm like, guys, this entire 2.5 years of business, I've never once gotten someone like prank call me or prank text me. I've only just mass enrolled distributors from it. So don't think the worst. Just trust me, just do it. I wouldn't lead you astray. But that is how I sign my distributors. And then the second thing that I love doing is putting my story in my story with a poll at the end. And so I don't know, I'm sure, Courtney, you probably have seen my stories before like this, but I'll try to explain it for everyone else the best I can. But basically, it's just making slides and putting them in your story, telling your story. So for example, slide 1 might be like a picture of me that says, hi, my name's Brittany, here's a peek into my life. And then the next slide might be a picture of me and my husband, and say, I'm a wife to Zach, my college sweetheart. I met him when I was 17. Next picture may be like my kids. I'm a mom of 5. I became a mom at 19, and now at 29, I've got 5 babies, 9 and under. And then I'm going to go into the business. So I'm going to do a slide that says, 2.5 years ago, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I grabbed hold of an opportunity to work off my smartphone, and I never looked back. And then, you can imagine where it keeps going. I'm just telling my story. And then at the very end, I say, I'm ready to help you change your life too. Click an option below and I'll connect with you. And then the poll pops up and it says, like, I'm ready to start now, send me info. And so that's huge too, because some people who maybe haven't taken the time to read my posts, they are watching stories really regularly and they're seeing my story, they're voting. And then I'll, of course, message those people from there. But whenever I don't do this a lot, I usually do one of these like once every couple of weeks. But anytime I do it, I usually get 20 votes or so. And I mean, that's 20 new potentials, you guys. And so that's huge. And it kind of back to the life cycle of the seed. I usually always have at least one person that signs on the spot. And then I have a few more that'll sign like the next month. And then the rest I usually have to follow up with months and months. So it's not like 20 instantaneous signs, but it's 20 really strong potentials. And that's what you want, is more people that you can talk to, more eyes on your page. So yeah, that's my 2 biggest things for signing distributors as far as attracting them to me. But then aside from that, I would just say the fortunes and the follow-up. I still, guys, have to learn this the hard way sometimes. I actually had a girl that came to my event in Dallas, and she messaged me before, this was just this past weekend, she messaged me a few days before the event and said, I'm so excited to see you in Dallas. She's like, I actually joined at work since I last talked to you. And I was like, what? And I recognized her name. And I scrolled up, and it was the month I went Prez. And guys, the month I went Prez was absolutely crazy. It was November. I signed 40 distributors that month and 60 customers. And I did host to post like it was going out of style. And so I just had so many things going on in my inbox. Even me being super organized and writing things down, I somehow forgot about this girl. She fell through the cracks. I scrolled up in the messages after she said that, and I was so ashamed of myself that I'd never followed up with her. After the initial point of contact, I voice messaged her. She asked me a couple questions. We set a day for her to sign, and I did check in on that day, but she didn't answer. I never followed up. And she signed with someone else and came to my event in Dallas. So I'm sharing this to say, like, you have to follow up. If I would have followed up with her a couple times after, that day she was supposed to sign, she didn't answer, she would have been on my team today. But because I dropped the ball, like, she was interested in the business and she signed with someone else. Someone else literally came and reaped my harvest. And so if you feel like you're not signing that many distributors, like, a lot of times that is the missing piece, is the follow-up. And so I encourage you to just get super organized. Different people have different styles that work for them, but what I personally love and has worked really well for me is I have an iPad Pro and I have like the Apple Pencil, and so I just do it all digital. I'm going to show you guys this like little spreadsheet I use because it's literally so simple and you can make it in like 2 seconds on Excel. But it has been gold for me. It just literally, you guys see this? It looks like chicken scratch. Let me turn the exposure down. I have stuff written on it, so it's going to look really messy, but I have one for customers and one for distributors. Can you guys see what this looks like? It just basically says like their name. Sorry, I'm trying to get even with the camera. Has their name and where you contacted them on Facebook or Instagram, and then just like some notes about them. So that's what I do, and I just have like so many pages of this, and I can just like flip through on follow-up days and go through. But that's a good way for me to like digitally keep track of them. If you're a pen and paper person or you don't have an iPad or anything to do digital, you can make something like that and print it off. You could just use like a spiral and, keep them like this. My whole first 2 years in the business, I did everything on this in like a notebook, and I just would write everyone's name down, and then I would highlight them when they signed. And so it became really motivating because on Follow Friday, like, I would highlight as many people as I could, get as many people into the system. And if I had a Friday that I wasn't signing a lot, it was really motivating to go back and see all the highlighted stuff, because I remembered like, okay, clearly what you're doing is working. This is just maybe a little bit more of a seed planting week than a harvesting week. So my whole point of that is like, find what works for you, but have a system and stick to it as best as you possibly can, because that is where you're going to sign the most people from.
Yeah, and that just you just like convicted me, because when I have times in my business where I need distributors, I'm charting, or I'm going for promotion, or I need them, I always sign them because that's what I'm working for. But then when I don't need them, I focus on customers because I need volume. But if we focused on both all the time, 50-50, like, I would always be signing DTs, and so it really is what you focus on. And Brittany's always focusing on that. And so, we're giving 100% effort to little customers sometimes, and she's still doing 50-50. And so I think that reminds me even, and us as a team, that we always need to be working for both, whether you need them or not. And if you do need them, use that as your motivation to 100% go after those DTs, and keep following up. As for follow-ups, Brittany, do you just do follow-up every Friday? Do you have a system for how often you follow up, and then what you say when you follow up too? Or does it kind of depend on the person? Will you kind of explain that?
Yeah, so I follow up every single Friday. And then aside from that, I follow up if like the conversation dropped off midweek, I'll follow up the next day. So for example, like, let's say I was talking to someone today about, keto coffee and greens. And we get all the way down to they should have been ordering, but they didn't actually say anything to my last message. I'm going to message tomorrow, and I'm going to say, hey girl, were you ready to go ahead and get your order in? So I'm not going to wait till Friday for that, because we were talking and it just, they maybe got busy and just forgot to respond to me. So I'm just going to pick that right back up tomorrow. And the same thing with distributors. So like, if someone messages me about the business today, I voice message them some info, and then they listen to it all and don't say anything. Tomorrow I'm going to say, hey girl, what questions did you have for me? So just always keeping the control and like making sure you're initiating the conversation, continuing, is key. But let's say I do that. I message someone tomorrow. I say, what questions did you have for me? They still don't answer. They're going to hear from me again on Friday. And Friday, what I'll do is I'll probably voice message just to kind of mix it up. And when I voice message PDTs, I keep it like 10 seconds or less. I don't say a whole lot. I'll just say something super simple like, hey, Courtney, I hope you're doing amazing. I was just thinking about you today. You were on my mind, and I just wanted to check in with you. I would love so much to help you get started in the business. I know it's going to be such a blessing in your life. What questions did you still have for me? Or something like that. Or were you ready to go ahead and get started? Or, the ending may depend on how serious our conversation got in the first place. But the point is, it'll just be a really short, sweet, and to the point voice message, because that usually will spark a response from them.
Sorry, I'm writing notes. And I love that
No.
too, because they can't just like see the notification pop up on their phone. They have to listen to your voice message. Like they can't just like read it, glimpse at it, and move on. Like they have to literally listen to you, or else they're never going to know what you said. And so I love that. And it kind of keeps it personalized. And then they're like reminded that you're a real person, because people have so many doubts that come into their mind when they're thinking about the business. Like, is this real? Is it a scam? Are you, I don't know. Like there's just so many doubts that it kind of just, it's like a friend talking to you. If I'm like wanting to join a sport, but I'm nervous, and my friend's like, come on, like you can do it with me. They're calling me, like I'm probably going to join. But if they're just texting me, I'm going to back out. And so I love that. And you always keep it so real, like in your posts, you keep it real in your stories, and just like being honest about your life, and people connect with that. And I think that's so important when you're looking at DTs, because they want a friendship, not just, a business. They're not just looking for the business. And so I absolutely love that. So what would you say to people who are newer in the business, who are wanting to sign DTs already? How do you train them? Do you kind of teach them how to do attraction marketing, or kind of what's your strategy for teaching like your newbies to sign DTs too?
Yeah, so I teach my newbies to go right out of the gates telling their story on social media too. I think so many people, convince themselves like, oh, I have to have a success story before I can sign distributors. But the reality is, if that was true, no one would ever make it past distributor, because we wouldn't have the success story to get distributors, and we have to have distributors to get past distributor. So I quickly try to debunk that for everybody, because that is what a lot of people think. But if you can just like clear that up right away and then help them find a solution, then that's key. So I train them to, like, if all else fails and they don't know what else to say, to just use my story as their story. And what I mean by that is they'll say, their nightly post may look something like, or may sound something like this. For months and months, I watched a girl on social media rapidly change her life with a business she worked off her smartphone. I always saw her post and wondered if I could do it too. Now here I am, I took a complete leap of faith, and I'm working off my smartphone too. I'm absolutely so excited for what it's doing for me and my family this year. I know 2019 is going to be the year that everything changes. If you've been praying for a solution for your own life, consider maybe you're seeing my post for a reason, message or text opportunity too. So, I literally will voice message them that. I'm like, this is what you're going to say. And the ones that actually want to find a solution and overcome that fear will do what I say. They'll go write a post similar to that, and they'll do it. And then what they find is people actually start kind of coming to them and like, hey, what are you doing? Even if they're not signing people right away, they start seeing people interested. Because here's the thing, when you talk about working off your smartphone and you're super vague, everyone wants to know what you're doing. They don't know that you're, if it works necessarily. They just see that you're working from home or working off your smartphone, or however you worded it. And that curiosity pulls them out, and they have to know more. And so my newbies start getting that confidence when they see it working, and they see people start coming, even if it is just a little bit of interest. And then that kind of helps them grow that confidence to start getting more vulnerable and, really opening up to their network and their own posts.
Yeah, and I love that. And just focusing on duplication instead of like, I have to do this all myself. Like, I'm going for diamond, I need like 20 people. But instead, helping those first few people enroll, and then teaching them that, telling them how to share their stories so they can find that success too. And then that's going to help you grow your chart too. And so I love duplication, and I love that tip on helping them, start writing their story right away. Because for me, like, I usually focus on, get your first couple customers, get that under your belt, and then you'll be ready to go, and then we can focus on charting. But really, like, if they just start doing what we do, which is posting about both right away, they're going to get the hang of it and, promote that much faster, because they already know how to do it. And so I love that. And I have new things that I need to start doing. But when you start talking about, so you went ambassador last month. It feels like it was like forever ago. I don't know. But you guys, Brittany brought in, what did you guys bring in? Like 75,000 in volume as a team in the last couple days, or since the 25th. I don't remember. But will you just kind of talk about that and what you guys did to, rally your team and really bring that together, and also talk about just promotion months in a whole, what it looks like, what sacrifices have to be made, and what you kind of have to expect when you come into a promotion month.
Yeah, absolutely. So we brought in 74,000 in volume in 6 days, from the 25th to the 30th, or maybe that's 5 days. I don't know, however long that is. We brought in 74,000 in volume. The number one thing that I'll say is that we made a decision. We made a decision and we didn't waver when the 25th came and we weren't as high as we thought we were going to be. The month before, we had ended the month with 203,000. And so I thought for sure, like, oh, on the 25th, we're going to be way over that. And then we'll just close in that last little bit to 250. Well, the 25th came and we were at whatever we were at, oh my gosh, 182. Yeah, 182. And I mean, yeah, that was a little bit of a shocker, but I got on a Zoom with my leaders, my top line and Zach's top line, and we sat there on that Zoom together. And I told them the amount. I said, okay, guys, we're at 182. We've got to get to a minimum 250. And they looked at me and they said, consider it done. They said, breaking it up amongst all of our legs, that's nothing. And guys, that's the key, is we had made a decision at the beginning of the month. We were as a team going ambassador. And we didn't start cowering whenever that number came and it was more intimidating than we thought. And I think that's the biggest mistake that people make, is when something like that happens on the 25th, they're like, oh man, okay, next month, I guess we're not going to hit it this month. They immediately count themselves out of the race. They immediately think, oh, I must need another month. But the reality is if you believe that God is going to equip you every step of the way, and you believed at the beginning of the month that he was going to help you promote, you have to believe it's still on the 25th, because you just don't know when the rush of his blessing is going to come. You know, we, in our minds, we expect it to be like evenly distributed across the month. You know, we expect it to be a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. But what if that was never his plan all along? Like, what if all along the way that he got the most glory was by him coming in at the last second and blessing your efforts in a big and mighty way, in a way that nobody could deny was like clearly his hand on your team. And so obviously that's something that takes a lot of faith, but if there's anything I can say, it's that we talk about faith a lot in this business, but when it comes down to putting our money where our mouth is, like, we get scared. And so the best advice that I can give is, like, when you make that decision, stick to it. When you make that decision, like, don't you allow fear to come in. And when you feel fear trying to creep in, you stop, you pray, you breathe out that anxiety, breathe in his peace, and you just ask God to continue to continue to bless the work of your hands, and then get back to work. There were so many days that last few days of April, before we promoted, before we saw Ambassador and E-Suite, that I would start like feeling myself feel nauseous. Like I felt like I was gonna throw up. But I had to literally stop and be like, okay, that's not gonna do any good. I need to just get to work. Like if I get to work, God will bless me. And I think so often, like, it really is that simple, but we forget it's that simple and we just psych ourselves out. That doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do us any good, doesn't do our team any good. And so if you believed, I'm not sure the rank of everyone on here, but like, let's say you're going for diamond, or you're going for double diamond, or going for triple. If you believed on, May 1st that you were going diamond, then you should still very much believe it now, no matter what E-Suite says. It doesn't matter if you're still 5,000 away, like, you should still very much believe it can happen. But faith without works is dead. So you've got to have the faith, and you've got to be willing to put in the work, and expect God to bless it. And so, yeah, I know so often people are looking for like this big magical answer, but I really don't have it. I don't have any like magic thing that we did. It was just that we made a decision and we just didn't cower on the 25th. The number was scary, but we knew that we as a team could do it. We know that there's power in numbers. There's power when a team comes together. And we knew that God, was going to be faithful to bless us if we kept working. But we knew we had no time to waste. So we knew like we had to just get to work and go boldly before him and ask him to bless us. The other thing I will say is, I guess this is kind of a practical thing, is my leaders did immediately go to their teams and let their teams know what was at stake. And I got on a Zoom with like all my like rubies and above, and just told them how vital of a piece they were, and how we could do this without them. And that is something that is not typically my style. I don't like to ask for help. I don't like to go and like be vulnerable and be like, guys, I can't do this without you, because I'm a hard worker. And so my style is kind of just like, oh, I'll just work really hard. I'll just put my head down and like, I'll figure it out. But my husband actually said to me, he said, Brittany, this is a really big number that you physically cannot do on your own. You need to let your team know that you need them. They are loyal to you. They want to help you, but you got to let them know that you need them. And so getting on that Zoom with all my, you know, like rubies and above on my entire team was so, so powerful, because I just told them, guys, I can't do this without you. And they were pumped up. They were like, it's happening. And guys, there were people that hadn't been enrolling all month long that like those last few days enrolled, like, I swear, 20 customers. Like, it was crazy. And so I say that to say, like, don't count anybody out. I don't care if it's someone that's been in a funk all month. Like, if it's the last few days of the month and you're like, okay, I need 7,000 to go double diamond, you go rally the troops. You get to the mall and you say, okay, we can do this together. It's going to take every last one of us. Like, let's make it happen. Because some people, that's all they need, is just to know that they're needed, to know that their hard work is making a difference in something bigger than themselves. You know, so like, a lot of us are really red and really driven and focused on our own results, but some people aren't that motivated by their own like results. They're more motivated if they know it helps you. And that's something that I don't always remember, but keeping that in mind those last few days of the month was so huge, because I mean, it was seriously one of the most moving things I've ever seen, like seeing my team come together like that. But I don't know that it would have happened in that exact way had I not just been real with them and, you know, just let them know that I needed them.
Yeah, and I love that you said about, you know, work, and, you know, God can't bless the work that you're not doing. And I always, there's a girl on my team, Jennifer, she's not on right now, but we always tell each other, you know, God can only bless the work that you're doing. So if you're praying, God, bring me these customers, bring me these distributors, but you're only asking 2 people to host posts for you a day, and you're only talking to 2 people about the business a day, you know, you're not doing that work. Like, what's he going to bring you? Because you're not putting yourself out there, and you're not doing that work so that he can give you that. And so I love that you pointed that out, because I 100% agree, and I love that so much. Will you touch on, you know, what sacrifices did you have to make this or last month as your promotion month? Because there's some people, you know, who, you know, will text me on the first day of the month and be like, I'm going diamond this month, it's happening, you know, 100%, and then they enter the month exactly like any other month. And we know that's not how it has to happen, and that's not how it can happen. And, you know, there are different things that you have to do at promotion month, and you have to like connect everything. And so we just kind of talk about that and what you had to do more of, and what, you know, you had to do less of to get you there. And obviously your team did it with you, but like, you personally, what did you have to do during that month?
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is that the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. That's something that I like tell myself like all the time, especially if the month is not going the way that I would like. And it's something that I share with my team if they're coming to me and they're like, I just don't know, I'm not finding anybody, but I clearly know they're not putting in the work. So I would encourage all of you guys, like, write that down somewhere to like read when you need to like snap yourself back into reality, or you need to snap someone else back into reality. The magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. So often we can hear Zooms and we see people enroll like, you know, 130 customers in 1 month, and we're immediately like, oh, what are they doing? That must be what's missing. But the reality is they're just doing a lot of the same things you already know how to do that you're just not doing, you know? And so I always like to preface with, if you've ever signed one customer, you can sign another. If you've ever signed one distributor, you can sign another. And I'm sure all of you on here have signed at least one of each. So the moment you kind of realize that, it makes it really simple. You just have to do more of what you know to do. But the month that I promoted to both ambassador and prez, what I will tell you is that I got less sleep than I would typically get. There was a lot of late nights, a lot of staying up till 3, 4 in the morning. And guys, I don't do that all the time, but the months I'm promoting, I know that every minute counts, every second counts. There was a lot of, you know, trading off, going and sitting in there in the evenings on the couch with my husband, coming to my office and just crunch time, just doing another round of follow-ups, just doing, you know, another, you know, batch of host to post messages, whatever it may be. Also, another thing that I'll say is just being, if you are married, being in really clear, open communication with your spouse about what you're willing to put in that month and like what that's going to look like, just so they can know and they can be there, number one, on the same page, but number two, be there to support you. There was, you know, one point in the, I guess probably middle of the month, that I went to my husband and I was like, I'm super anxious. Like, I just feel like I'm not making the headway that I should be. And he literally said to me, what do you need from me? Like, I'll do whatever you need. But it's so, so important. And I think sometimes we forget to go to our spouse and be open. And some of you maybe are on here and not married, so this may not apply to you, but for anyone that is, I just want to share this. They can only support you to the level that you're letting them in. And so if you're not willing to go to them and say like, hey, like, I have to like pull some late nighters in my office, or I've got to, you know, do this or do that. Like they can't help you if you're not cluing them in. They're not mind readers. And so clue your spouse in, that way they can be on the same page. If you've got kids, let your kids know it's a big month. I've got 5 kids, and the ones that could understand this, they were told, like, this is a big month for mommy. Mommy's going ambassador. You know, next month's going to be a little bit more calm, a little bit different, but this month's going to be huge. And so that kind of helped, like, my older kids know that, like, if I was really busy and I was, you know, a little bit more all over the place than usual, like, they understood why. So just communicate with your family, and then just make those hard choices. I love what Rachel Hollis says. She says you have to sacrifice, you know, what you want. Or yeah, you have to sacrifice what you want now for what you want most. And so you can't just choose what you want in the here and now. What you want in the here and now is you're tired and you just want to go watch Netflix. But what you want most is to retire your husband. Or what you want most is to be able to quit your job so you can come home to your kids. What you want most is to be able to pay off all that credit card debt. So you've got to let what you want most fuel you over what you want now, because our emotions will always play games with us. So we have to ahead of time, like, know that we're going to make those hard choices. I can tell you right now, like, if you haven't already decided that ahead of time, it's really easy to make the wrong choice in the moment. But if ahead of time you've already told yourself, like, I'm making this happen no matter what it takes, like, I don't care what I have to lay down, I'm going to do whatever I need to do, then as those situations arise and you're presented with the choice, you'll make the right choice, but it's because you already made the decision to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and kind of going into that, you know, if you're thinking about what do you want most and you don't know what, you don't know your why, and your why is not big enough, you're always going to choose the easier option because you don't have something worth staying up until 4 a.m. like Brittany did. You don't have something that's worth talking to your family about and making those sacrifices and, you know, spending that time away from your family now so that you can have what you want. And I think it all starts with having that big why. And so kind of going into that, obviously we know, well, you kind of talk about how to grow your why, and then also like what self-development do you do? How is that important in your business? How has that helped you grow? Where would you be without it? And just kind of talk about self-development, because there were times in my business, every single rank that I hit, you know, I had this, like, I would call Kayla and be like, I don't know what else I want. You know, I was in college at the time and I was earning $2,000 a month. And I was like, my old college job paid me like $400 a month. So I was like, I have more than I need, you know, I don't have any debt. I don't need anything. And she was like, okay, you have to think bigger. Like, you have to grow that. And so, will you just kind of talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like, it's really easy, like you said, especially if you've gotten your debt paid off or you didn't have any debt or whatever, it's really easy to just think really small, and kind of going back to what we were talking about just a second ago, thinking in the here and now. But you got to think long term. You've got to think of, like, what does true freedom look like for you? And I'm going to give you guys an example. This weekend, my daughter turns 10 tomorrow. And this weekend we are taking her and the rest of my kids. We're all going up to Orlando. We live 3 hours away from there. We're going up there and doing the special after hours at Disney one night. We're staying in a beautiful resort. They're going to, like, play at the water park the next day. And it's going to be, like, literally a personal vacation for her birthday. Now, I don't tell you guys to say that to brag or anything. I say that to say, when she said she wanted that for her birthday, without hesitation, I could say, okay, that's what we'll do for your birthday. And that is what money can do for you. It's not all about the money to have more money. It's about the freedom. And I like, so many people, you know, they get hung up on, like, oh, I don't need money to be happy. No, but you do need freedom to be happy. And freedom comes from having money, just plain and simple. Money funds that freedom. And we used to be the family that our kids went to a really nice school in Texas because we just happened to be zoned for this, like, really nice blue ribbon school. And they're like, the kids in my kids' classes were like, the children of, like, doctors and lawyers and things like that. So these kids were going to, like, Hawaii on spring break and things like that. And my kids would come home, you know, like the Friday before spring break, and they'd be like, where are we going on vacation for spring break? And I'd be like, oh, we're not going anywhere. We're staying home. And they would start asking things like, can we go to Disney World? Can we do this at least? Can we just at least go down to SeaWorld or whatever? We lived in Texas at the time, so there's a lot of stuff around. And I was like, no, I was like, not this year, maybe next year. Like, that was what I had to say to them every time their friends were going somewhere, whether it was a summer vacation, spring break, you know, they're going somewhere for Thanksgiving. Like, I always had to just say maybe one day, essentially. And now, like, that's not our reality anymore. Like, if our kids want to do something, we can do that. And our kids have quite literally been able to see their dreams be checked off the dream board, not just ours. You know, our dreams were to retire my husband, to go debt free, things like that. But my kids just wanted to do normal things that they saw their friends doing, and we can do that now. And so those are the things that, like, it's really easy in the here and now to be like, well, I mean, I'm fine. I don't have to make a lot of money to be happy. but like, you just don't know what's going to come up. You know, maybe someone in your family gets really sick and you're able to be a blessing to them. You're, you know, because you're making 5 figures a month with this business, you can go, you know, help them with their medical bills, or you can go, you know, fly across the country and stay with them and take care of them. You know, maybe it's, you know, a vacation, maybe it's, you know, being with someone when they need you, whatever it may be. My whole point is that money gives you the options that you want way before you ever know you want them. And so if you're not prepared, then as things come up in life, you're not going to have the option to do those things. But if you prepare now, then no matter what life throws your way, you're going to be okay. You're going to be able to take care of it. And so that's what I would encourage you to think of, even if you're having a hard time getting your why nailed down. I think it's really important to do that. But I think just from a practical standpoint, just knowing that, like, why would you not want to be set for life? Why would you not want to have everything that you need and be able to say yes to your kids, be able to say yes to, you know, that friend that says, hey, do you want to take a girls trip, you know, next summer to wherever? Like, yeah, sure, whatever. And not even have to think, how would I pay for that? Because that's what this business can do for you. But going back more practically to your why, I love the advice that actually you guys' upline, Erin Tweed, taught me this. She says, ask yourself why 5 times. I love that so much. So what that means is, like, maybe your why is super superficial. It's like, oh, I just want to pay off debt. Okay, why do you want to pay off debt? And then obviously you're going to dig a little deeper. Well, because I'm always having to, you know, say no to things because I have all this debt hanging over my head. Okay, why do you want to, you know, just keep asking yourself why until you get because that's going to help you peel the layers back and get deeper and deeper and deeper to the real reason. Because sometimes I think we put up these like walls, we put up these defense mechanisms, and we don't want to be real with ourselves what we want. I've had people on my team, you know, Courtney, you said you were talking to Kayla when you were in college, and it was, you know, she had to help you peel that back. I've had people on my team in similar positions where they're like, well, I have everything that I need. Like, I don't need anything else. And I'm like, really? I'm like, because I've heard you talk about this. I've heard you talk about this. And it gets their wheels turning and they're like, okay, you're right. I guess I didn't think about it like that. So sometimes that's all you need, is just to keep peeling back those layers and get to it. But as far as self-development, so actually we just had a coaching call earlier with someone that was at the Dallas event and won the Gives Back raffle for it. And I was telling her this, the months in my business that I have done the least self-development, you would be able to see if I showed you. I've got, like, in my planner, I have like every month in the business since June 2016 when I started. I have how many distributors I've enrolled each month and how many customers I've enrolled each month. So after my first few months, where there was obviously a learning curve, from that point forward, you could literally look, and I promise you could tell me what months I didn't do the most self-development, because my enrollments are not what they could be. I wasn't mass enrolling those months. The months that I'm mass enrolling are the months that I'm doing the most self-development. The months I'm really, really mass enrolling, like the month I went Prez, I signed 40 distributors and 60 customers that month. I did literally more self-development than most people could probably fathom. My husband could back me up on this. It was playing nonstop in the house, nonstop in my office. I had Stephen Furtick like on repeat. So it's evident in my enrollments. And I say that to say, like, even at this point in the business, like, I'm not to a point where I can skip self-development. If I skip self-development, I pay for it. And so if you're kind of slacking on your self-development, I encourage you to make that such a strong priority that it's taking up 30% of your time. If you're not making self-development take up about a third of your time, I promise you, you're missing out. You're missing out on so much. Because you will only ever be as good as your mind is. And if you don't have your mind up to par, nothing else is going to be on par either. I'm just such a big believer that the tide always will rise and fall in self-development. And so, as far as like what I listen to, it kind of just like depends on the month. Right now I'm listening to an incredible book by someone who was actually a Navy SEAL, and it's like just an incredible book on the power of the mind. It's called Can't Hurt Me. I don't necessarily recommend it to everybody. There's a lot of language and stuff. It's kind of graphic, but it's a good book for me right now. I just kind of like block out all that and take the message out. But I think Rachel Hollis is always a great person to listen to. Girl Stop Apologizing helped me so much. Girl Wash Your Face helped me last summer. I listened to that right after I had my baby, my 5th baby. And that was like everything we needed to hear during that season. I'm trying to think what else. The book Relentless is really, really good. I love TD Jake's new book. I mean, I could go on and on, but the main thing is like set a standard for yourself and hold to it. So for me, like, I know that I need to be finishing about a book every 10 days. If I'm taking longer than that to finish a book, it's because I'm taking too long to finish the book. You know what I mean? Like, I know that if I'm doing the amount of self-development I could be doing, then I should be finishing about 3 books a month. Because I mean, here's the thing, audiobooks are like anywhere from 5 to 10 hours long. So you do the math. If you're just listening to a book for 30 minutes a day, you would finish a 10-hour book in, you know, however many days that is. So that'd be 20 days. So that being said, like if you're listening to an hour a day, you're going to be finishing a book definitely in 10 days or less. So that's like a way that I keep myself in check, is if I am taking too long, then I know like, okay, Brittany, you're slacking on your self-development, pull yourself together, and then I'll catch up. But set a standard for yourself. If you don't set a standard, you're just going to be, you know, blowing in the wind, trying to like figure it out. But when you actually put a standard on yourself, it's easy to keep. So maybe like you haven't been doing a lot, just start with like 1 a month. Start with 1 book a month or 2 books a month, a sermon a day, you know, whatever you're going to do. If money is tight, listen to a podcast. Rachel Hollis has a great podcast. John Maxwell's podcast is great. I love Craig Rochelle. The Influencer podcast is really good. So there's so many free resources out there is my point. There's no reason to not saturate your mind. But if you saturate your mind with truth nonstop, like there's going to be a couple things that happen. Number one, your conversations are going to be better because you're going to be so much more confident that it's going to come out in your conversations. Number two, you're going to be able to stand firm against the attacks that naturally come, because when you are pushing for promotions, like the devil will try to attack you. But if you're doing self-development very faithfully, then you're going to be geared up for those attacks and you're going to be able to handle anything that comes your way. But if you haven't been doing self-development, you're not. That's when you're going to kind of go into freak out mode and you're going to not know what's happening. So yeah, self-development, I could ramble on about this forever, Court, but if you're not doing it, like choose that tonight is the night it all changes and start listening to something tonight.
Yeah, well, I love that you can ramble on about it because that proves how important you think it is. And I know that it's important. And, you know, I didn't start it as soon in my business as I should have. And that's just kind of it. You know, I just look back and I think, you know, if I would have been doing self-development, where could I be at right now? You know, how much further could I have gotten in that amount of time that I thought I didn't need it? You know, I'm fine. You know, I don't need self-help, you know, because that's what you think about when you first join the business and they talk about it. You're like, what? Like, I'm fine. You know, I don't need this therapy or counseling or whatever you think these like self-development books are. But it is so important. And I love listening to them. So for those of you who are like me, and you talk about like reading books, you know, some people are like, you need to read the book. And I can't do that because when I'm reading in the morning or whatever, I need to be like working. Like I need to be working. I know that that's my time. And so I love having it in the background because not only am I pouring into myself, but I'm pouring into myself while I'm hearing no's, while I'm, you know, getting blocked from people, while I'm having people yell at me, you know, like whatever happens during my work session, I'm getting poured into so that they can't take away from me, because when they take away from me, I'm getting poured right back into. And like you said, you're more confident. So when I'm talking to them and they're like, your product is so stupid, it doesn't actually work, I'm like, girlfriend, you best believe these 17 before and afters I'm about to send you because I'm that confident, you know what I mean? And so for those of you who also like don't have a lot of time, like you guys are in college, a lot of my girls are in college or you know, have full-time jobs and things like that still. And so listen to them, you know, while you're doing your work session, listen to it while you're driving to school, while you're driving to work, while you're in the shower. I always like during shower time, like, what else are you doing? Like, just listen to it. And so those are like some times that I love to listen to it, but I'm also with you on like audiobooks and podcasts and all of that good stuff. And I'm probably going to do some audiobook giveaways and things like that, because that would be super awesome for those of you who are in college and like don't want to spend the money on that, but it's super important. So be looking out for that. But Britt, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but do you have any last tips for us or anything? I don't have any more questions because you absolutely killed it and all of your stuff is gold. So anything else you want to say?
I just want to leave you guys with, no matter what promotion's ahead of you, if you make a decision, you can do it. And maybe you've gotten all the way to the 21st and you hadn't actually made a decision. Maybe you've been telling your upline, your enroller exactly what they wanted to hear, but you in your heart hadn't really made a decision. You can make a decision right now. You have 9 days left of the month, or actually 10 days left of the month. You can make a decision right now that if you're going to make it happen, you can go make it happen. And what I would encourage you to do is don't complicate things. Make the decision. Get down on your knees, ask God to bless the work of your hands like never before. I literally, you guys, like I make promises to God, like a child would come make promises to their mom and dad. Like if I'm really good, like I'll be so good if you take me, you know, to the park or whatever. Like that's how I am. I will literally go to the Lord and be like, if you will please just bless me like never before and like bring me the customers I need to make this happen. I will put in more work than I've ever put in. Like I swear I'm like negotiating. But guys, like I think so often we forget like God wants you to come like boldly and transparently before him. Like he loves you and he doesn't love anyone else that you've seen him bless. He doesn't love them any more than you. So just go boldly before him and just lay your heart out. I promise you, you'll walk away from that prayer and that time with him with so much more of a peace on your heart. So make the decision, go boldly before the Lord, ask him to bless you, and then do the things that you know to do. Don't overcomplicate it, keep it simple. Like Grant Cardone says, 10x everything you know to do. The magic that you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. So take the work you've been avoiding and just go do it and just do more of it. So if you know host to post is your jam, go do a lot of host to post. Do more host to post than you've ever done. If you know, blowing up your stories with tons of polls and, engaging with your network so much is your jam, then do that. And don't do more of it than you've ever done. Whatever it is, if cold messaging is your jam, go do more of that. Like whatever this is what yields me results. Go do it like it's going out of style. Like chase it down like it's the last bus of the night and make it happen. And I promise you, you'll be so happy with where you are at the end of the month. But that's all that you need to do. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't let fear get in the way. Just make a decision and go make it happen.
You are amazing. I'm not even going to say anything else because everything was so perfect. But I thank you so much for hopping on and pouring into us. You're always willing to be one team, one mission and sharing with us. And yeah, just taking your time out of your night that you could be doing so much other things, spending time with your husband, kids, working your business. And so thank you so much for being so willing to hop on and being vulnerable with us and giving us all that information. We appreciate it. And I know it will help my team so much and their team so much. So we love you so much. And thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks so much for having me.